Hi friends! Welcome back or welcome to Life's the Whole Thing. It's been a while. I'm really excited to be back. I have been working in the background. I'm sorry, you can see like light bulbs and stuff over there. Probably hear the animals playing. I obviously moved. Sorry, we're on a tangent now. I moved back in June. I'm now in Delaware. I started my job in July. Things have been hectic. Things have been amazing. I literally got out of work less than an hour ago. The animals are fighting. The only thing that I would complain about, and that Justin and I both kind of would complain about this apartment we're in, is that it's a loft. It doesn't matter where we are at in here. We can hear everything. And sadly, that's gonna mess up this audio a little bit, and I do apologize 1010%, but there's actually nothing I can do about it. Justin's not here right now. I don't know what time he's gonna be here, so we might hear him come in. I don't know. But as I was saying, I've been doing a lot of things in the background since the last time I recorded and released an episode, and I do think that now all of the episodes, I think there was 2 of them, are down because I'm rebranding. I've been rebranding and I've been doing a lot because I want this to work out and I want this to be really good and eventually not have my animals wrestling in the background of this episode. Anyways, life recently has just been a lot. Trying to think. Anything big. Well, this weekend is Justin's, his old hockey teams. Their home opener, and they are raising a banner because they won last season. So we have that, and a lot of our friends that are no longer on the team because, like, they graduated and stuff, and, like, their girlfriends are all going to be in town this weekend. So I'm really excited about that. I went home a few weeks ago, got to see my family, so that was really nice. And work has just been really good. I'm still technically training, so it's works in progress, but I'm doing pretty good, and I'm really excited. Anyways, I would love to sit here and really deep into my life the last few months since you guys have heard from me, but I really want to talk about the topic because I want to be able to finish it all in one episode, and we might end up having to do 2 episodes about the same topic, which I'm going to feel really bad if that's the case, but at the same time, I really want to do this justice. I don't want to rush it, and honestly, I might end up doing more research on the back half of things if I do have to cut this into 2 parts, just that way that second half of the story can be way more detailed than what I have it right now. So we'll kind of see. Like I said, I don't want to rush it, but I do want to get into it because it is definitely a long story. But first, before I do that, I do want to just kind of explain this rebrand and why I'm doing it. As much as I do love talking about myself and having conversations with people, sitting here, just looking at a camera, speaking into a microphone, only talking about myself and relating my life to things was just not something that I found fun, necessarily. I was excited to do it. I liked doing it, but, like, it wasn't something that, like, I just wanted to sit down and do. It was kind of something that I, like, had to force myself to do, and that is not what I want for this podcast. Like, I want it to be something I'm excited about. So therefore, I'm trying to keep the name Life's the Whole Thing. It might end up changing a little bit, sorry, but we're going to try out the true crime side of things, which was kind of what I wanted to do originally, and then just decided not to, especially because the podcast kind of started out for class with that first episode and stuff. So I'm definitely trying to get more to, like, the true crime side of things, maybe some paranormal stuff. But today we are going to be talking about maybe one of my favorite serial killers, if you can say favorite. I don't think I really have like a favorite serial killer. It's not like I agree with anything that they've done, but probably one of my favorite cases. One of the creepiest and scariest cases, in my own opinion, as well. This case is the case of the killer clown, which I don't know if you know, but that would be John Wayne Gacy. A lot of people did call him the killer clown, which he was probably the biggest inspiration for most actual killer clowns. But honestly, like, the truth behind him is much darker than most killer clowns that you may know. And it was much darker than just the face paint and the kids' parties and things like that. Just a quick little recap here, and I have my notes on my phone. I'm not just scrolling on my phone. John Wayne Gacy, I do believe, had 33 victims. I do go more into detail about that at the end of the story and stuff, and the exact number, but I do believe it was 33. It's been a minute since I took these notes, so sorry. Most of which were buried, I don't even think buried, just kind of like laid under the crawl space of his house, and if they were buried, it was in very shallow graves. So, to get into it, we're going to start off with who John Wayne Gacy was, and kind of his early life, because he did have kind of a rough upbringing, don't they all, in my own opinion, and in the opinion of some of the podcasts that I listened to on this. The main podcast episode that I took some notes from and really listened to in detail on this case was And That's Why We Drink, one of my favorite podcasts ever, and then also Crime Junkie. I listened to that episode of it and that podcast on him. So a lot of my notes were definitely inspired by their telling of it, as well as obviously my own research. But again, it's been a few days since I took the notes, probably closer to a week. So if I don't remember things off the top of my head, 1010% correct. Once I hit that bullet point, it'll be correct. Hopefully, if I have wrong information or wrong notes, please let me know. Obviously, I do my best to be giving the correct information, having the correct details and correct information in my notes, but there is a very large possibility that I'm wrong. Also, maybe do your own research. Listen to if you are really interested in the case. If I am wrong, listen to a few more like episodes on him from other people. Sorry, Ford just got slammed into a wall, and that will 100 I'm gonna do my best to be accurate. If I'm not, I do apologize. I'm trying my best. Okay. Anyways, so John Wayne Gacy was born March 17th of 1942. His hometown was Norwood Park Township, Illinois, which was a suburb of Chicago, but he was born in a hospital in Chicago. John Wayne Gacy was the middle child and had two sisters, so he was the only boy, and his parents were John Stanley Gacy and Marion Elaine Robinson. I'm not 100% sure if his mom ever took the last name Gacy or if she didn't. From what I saw, it was just Marion Elaine Robinson, so I'm going to assume she didn't. I could be wrong. She totally could have also taken the last name Gacy. I don't know. I'm sorry. His father was an auto repair mechanic as well as a World War I vet. He was abusive, and John had kind of a strict upbringing, I guess. He did grow up alongside the rest of his family as Catholic, which kind of helped with that strict upbringing. My goodness. Gacy was super, super close with both his mom and both of his sisters. But he did have quite the difficult relationship with his father, which again, I feel like we see a lot in these sort of cases. Um, at least a difficult relationship with one parent. I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm saying we see it more likely or more often than not. I do think that he had a little bit more of a, based on other serial killers and stuff that I've seen, not as crazy of an abusive kind of father, but all abuse is bad. All abuse is bad. Let's just make that clear. All of it is bad. 110%. I'm just saying, um, I've seen worse to serial killers, and none of it is an excuse at all. But he did not have a great upbringing. So, like I said, his father was abusive, verbally and physically, to pretty much the whole family, and he was an alcoholic as well. And John Stanley, which is the father, would constantly belittle Gacy, calling him dumb and like stupid, as well as comparing him to his sisters and like the things that he was doing to his sisters. Gacy's earliest memory was actually his father beating him when he was 4 years old because he accidentally dearranged car parts. I think it was car engine parts. And that was literally like his earliest memory was just like his father beating him for this. His mom did try to shield him and the girls from the abuse, but his dad would pretty much just call him like a sissy and a mama's boy, and would tell him that he would grow up to be queer because of the fact that his mom was trying to shield him from the like abuse, which is probably I know that Gacy, especially in his childhood, kind of struggled within himself and like with like his sexuality and everything, and I'm sure that those comments from his father did not help. His father did whip him one time because he found him sexually fondling a young girl. So obviously not good. The same year, he began being molested by a family friend, but was too scared to tell his dad just because he pretty much was just scared that his dad was going to blame him for the abuse, which, again, not good. There's no reason to be blaming someone for being molested, especially by a family friend. And I also like fear like more often than not it's like similar situations, especially when it's someone that you do know, like where you're scared to tell and you're scared to speak up. But Gacy did still love his father as anyone would, I'm sure, for the most part. Like, I'm not going to speak for anyone, but again, I kind of even in like this like new case, the like Netflix documentary about it, like the oh hi Juno, of like the cyberbullying thing, like when it's someone's mom like or dad, like I feel like more often than not I'm feeling like kids, like even though this is like the stuff terrible is happening to you, like you still love your parents, and you just kind of like want that stuff to stop, but like a lot of people still love their family even when this is happening, which I don't think I would agree with. But I don't know, he also did a lot of bad things, so maybe that's why he loved his father still. I don't know, I can't say, I'm not him. He did just kind of feel like he was never really good enough in his father's eyes, so again, just like not helping any of that, and just kind of trying to win his dad over, I guess. As a child, Gacy was overweight, unathletic. He did have a heart condition, so was told to avoid sports, which obviously probably um, kind of helped to that like unathleticness, the overweight, things like that. In fourth grade, he started to experience blackouts and was occasionally hospitalized due to this. And between the ages of 14 and 18, he spent an estimated year in the hospital. I know that he also like had surgery, I think, at one point because of his appendix, and just like things like that. So he was in the hospital a lot, and due to this, he was missing school, and missing school came slipping grades, which again, like his father would say that he was faking it a lot of the time, um, which I mean, I don't really know exactly. I don't think he was faking it. what I know is that he was just hospitalized a lot from these blackouts, the appendix thing, and just like other miscellaneous things. So he was just missing a lot of school. Grades were slipping. And then moving on to like his kind of early adulthood after high school, he was into politics, and I know at 18 he got a job in politics. I forget exactly what it was. I fully just did not write it down, but I do know that I think in still like his hometown, he got a job within politics. And then in the early 1960s, he briefly moved to Las Vegas for a while and worked in a morgue. He was a mortuary, I think that's how you say it, attendant, and slept in a cot in the embalming room. Everyone's dream job, right? I mean, or do they keep bodies in the embalming room? Do we know? If you work in a morgue, let me know. Do you keep bodies in the embalming room? Like, did he sleep in a cot with bodies? I want to know. Wow. Later, he climbed. Oh my god. He climbed into a coffin with a deceased teenage boy and caressed the body. I'm sorry, I fully forgot about this. I wrote this note while I was listening to it, and I just like blacked out, not wanting to ever hear about this again. But whatever. So he climbed into a coffin with the deceased teenage boy and caressed the body, and then was shocked by what he did, so moved back to Chicago to live with his family. I'm shocked by what you did too. I am. I wish I could say that that was the worst thing to happen in this whole story, but it's not, unfortunately. But when he got back to Chicago, he enrolled in a business college to study business management and proved to be a fast learner, developed strong skills, and then was hired by Nunn Bush Shoe Company in Springfield, Illinois in 1964, and was quickly promoted to a management trainee. And in March of 1964, he met Marlene Myers, which was the daughter of a wealthy local man who owned several KFCs. So, the perfect person to meet. Only if said KFCs are also connected to a Taco Bell. But they were in Iowa, by the way, the KFCs. So, nowhere near me. I guess I don't need to meet Miss Marlene Myers, but personally, if I met someone whose father was rich and owned KFCs, and like I said, hopefully Taco Bells, I would be pretty happy to meet that person. Gacy did become very, very well liked within this shoe company, and had an image of being very responsible and hardworking. A few months later, in September of '64, he married Marlene, who then him and Marlene ended up moving to Waterloo, Iowa. I'm not exactly sure how far away that was from where he had met her originally. I don't know maps. Someone want to tell me how far Iowa is from Illinois? Because I don't know. When they got to Waterloo, though, Marlene's father gave Gacy management to 3 of his KFCs, where he was the manager. So that ruins KFC for me. Now it's just Taco Bell. Marlene, I'm gonna hit you up. She's probably dead, actually. Okay, maybe I'm not gonna hit you up. I might hit up their kids though. Oh my god, Juno. Okay. Hopefully, I took the little thing off just to see if it can make it so that you can't hear them as much. It's probably gonna be worse. I don't know. Sorry. Yeah, she was barking at the cat. Anyways, so her father gave Gacy 3 of the franchises of KFC. In the late 60s, in Waterloo, Gacy had a very, very nice public image. He was very well respected, a family-oriented man. He was very active in the Waterloo Jaycees, which was like a civil service organization where he won awards and had leadership roles. Pretty much just all around good man, right? Aren't they all? So him and his wife hosted gatherings at their home. Again, just like a very good citizen. I know that he would host like children's parties as well for the clown thing. Just very, very well liked, right? Him and Marlene did have 2 kids. Their oldest, their oldest was their son Michael, and then they had a daughter Christine as well. In or behind closed doors, I should say, rumors did start to spread about Gacy's involvement in pornography, swinging, and wife swapping, drug use, but for what I heard, mainly just weed, and sexual advances, towards young men and teenage boys. So, here we go. The story's starting to pick up a little bit. Gacy was starting to build a double life, I guess you could say. Again, model citizen, because aren't they all? And then secret predator behind closed doors. So, not good at all. Closing out the 60s here, in 1968, Gacy had his first conviction because Donald Voorhees, I think is how you say it. He was 15. He was a son of one of the Jaycees, the Waterloo Jaycees. He was one of their sons, and he had accused Gacy of sexually assaulting him, lured with promises of porn and alcohol. He got Donald to his home, assaulted him, and investigation revealed several other boys and similar allegations. In May of 1968, Gacy was indicted on sodomy charges, and while awaiting trial, he hired a teenage boy to physically assault Voorhees and silence him pretty much. The boy was caught and confessed, which ended up just leading to more charges against Gacy. And in December of 1968, he was convicted of sodomy and sentenced to 10 years at Anamosa State, which was in Iowa. In prison, he was a head cook. He was very active. Again, like rose to leadership roles. He was very, very popular with the guards, inmates. He was called a model prisoner, which I'd love to see a model prisoner because I want to know how he was one. He was diagnosed in prison with antisocial personality disorder. Oh, wow. Did you just hear that? I can't talk anymore. Antisocial personality disorder. There we go. I said it. I got it out that time. And the prognosis was out. He pretty much was unlikely to change, and it was a high risk to reoffend. So in 1969, Marlene ended up divorcing him, and because of this, he was very angry at the fact that she wanted to divorce him. So he was just yeah, well, you want to divorce me, I'm never going to speak to you or the children again. So he ended up losing all contact with his children as well, because that makes sense. June 18th of 1970, so I believe this was less than a year, or no, it was over a year, it was 18 months, after he was sentenced and convicted, he was granted parole, so again, 18 months, so he only served 18 months of his 10-year sentence, so that's great, on the conditions that he return to Chicago and live with his mother and have a mandatory 1 year of probation. And of course, he was not allowed around minors, which good. I mean, at least they're trying, right? So in 1971, Gacy moved back to his mother's house in Chicago, where he got work as a construction worker and a contractor. And in 1971, again in August, was arrested and accused of attempting to sexually assault a teenage boy. But the charges were dropped because the victim didn't show up in court. And then a few months later, he purchased his own house in Norwood Park Township. So again, like just right outside of Chicago. It was, if you want the address, you can go find it. 8213 West Somerdale Avenue, Norwood Park Township. The home. Oh, Juno. I'm sorry again. The home. Okay, just a minute. Okay, hopefully she stops, because Ford just slapped her. Oh no, I lost my spot. Ugh, are we kidding? Juno. Found it. Okay, so the home that he purchased, Somerdale Avenue, I think I did that. This would later be the burial site to, like I said, a lot of his victims. This same year, he founded PDM Contractors, which was painting, decorating, and maintenance. He hired many teenage boys and young men. That was most of his employees. And he pretty much just used his business as a means to lure in victims, collect them, get all these contacts. And yet, no one figured it out. Like, you'll see, but it's like he would hire people and kill people. It's just like, it's crazy to me. I'm sorry. It's just actually wild. In 1972 was when he married Carol Hoff, who was a divorced mother with 2 daughters, so bringing in more kids into his life, because clearly he's doing so well with the other 2 who he doesn't talk to. Yeah, okay. Again, he was a very respected man, a respected citizen. He was very respected in the neighborhood. He was a family man. He hosted neighborhood barbecues. He was a Democratic Party precinct captain and had his photo taken with First Lady Rosalind Carter in 1978. He would perform at children's hospitals and fundraisers as, and here we go, Pogo the Clown, and I guess Patches the Clown, but I've only mainly heard Pogo, so I don't know if Patches was only used sometimes, but I do know that it was mainly his main clown persona was Pogo. Behind the scenes, Carol did begin to notice some strange behaviors, and the house started to be very, very constantly having this foul odor, which was obviously later proven to be decomposing bodies. Again, you smell something, leave. Maybe you smell something, you report something next time too. Probably would have saved a lot of damages, but yeah, it's pretty much just the smell just didn't go away. I'm sure she tried cleaning before divorcing. I don't know, but she did end up divorcing Gacy in 1976. So let's rewind a little bit to 1972, which was his first known murder. This was of Timothy Jack McCoy, who was 16 years old. Gacy picked him up at a Chicago bus terminal where Timothy spent the night at Gacy's home. Gacy then claimed that McCoy came at him with a knife in the morning, but he could have possibly misunderstood the situation, so Gacy stabbed McCoy to death. He did later say that he felt a sexual thrill after killing someone for the first time. So then, between 1972 and 1978, he was just pretty much on a murder spree. The victims typically were teenage boys, young men, often were runaways or employees of his business, like I said. Oh my goodness. Can we not fight on top of me? Go. I'm sorry. They're actually fighting right on top of me. I'm so sorry. I feel bad I have to keep pausing this, but like I said, there's literally nowhere else for me to go but sit on the couch. So we do kind of just have to deal with it. Okay, and she pushed this again. Every time she, like, comes over here, she keeps moving my notes. I'm getting there. Okay. So, like I said, most of the victims were, like, teenage boys, young men, runaways, and employees of his business. They were lured in with job offers, money, alcohol, drugs, and he would trick victims. This is so disgusting. I saw a movie actually on this. It was not like a real storyline or anything, but they talked about this trick in it, and I don't know how like real the second half is, but like I've heard everywhere about this trick where like he tricks victims into being handcuffs, and he called it the Gacy trick. And like in the movie, he's like, "Do you know what the trick is? Like, do you know the trick to get out of the handcuffs? Do you know the trick to get out of the handcuffs?" And he's like, "Are you gonna answer?" And they're all like terrified at this point. So like, no, they're not gonna answer. And he like puts out the key and he's like, "You have to have the key." Again, I don't know if like the "you have to have the key" part of it was true or if that was like movie magic and like just something that they put in the movie. Anyways, he did for 100% fact trick everyone with his Gacy trick into being handcuffed, which is just as disgusting, but like to tease them is like utterly disgusting. Obviously, it's all absolutely appalling and gross, but that was just something that like it just like freaks me out to like a whole different level. Like that tricking someone into handcuffs. Like, ew. Okay. Anyways, after he would trick them into being handcuffed, he would rape them and torture them. Again, I told you it's all gross, and it just kind of just keeps getting worse. And then he would strangle them with rope and like a board or stick. It was like the rope trick. I think he like twisted it, or he like held it behind him and like pulled. I don't know the exacts, but it is known and it was like found, that it was like a stick or like a board wrapped and like tied in rope. And that was what he used to strangle and kill the victims. It's just terrible. So, like I said, the bodies were buried in the crawl space, which was under his house and under his garage. And then a few bodies were dumped in rivers, because the crawl space eventually just pretty much filled up with corpses. So once that happened, that's when he would begin dumping them in the Des Plaines River. Yes, that's the one. And then in 1978, Robert Piest, I think is how you say it, he was 15 years old. It's just disgusting. He disappeared after telling his mom he was going to meet Gacy about a job. Police questioned Gacy, who denied involvement, but investigators did note that he had a prior record of sexual assault, so they did start kind of having surveillance on Gacy. This was December 13th through the 21st of 1978 that the like surveillance was happening. I do believe, I don't know why I didn't write it down, because I heard about it in the And That's Why We Drink episode, but I'm pretty sure that Robert Piest, the 15-year-old, I think it was this victim, he worked at the Des Plaines or Des Plaines, I think it's Des Plaines. He worked at the pharmacy. So a big reason that he was like caught is because they saw Gacy at the pharmacy that day, like talking to Robert about a job, which is why Robert went to go meet up with Gacy about the job. And I think they later find the pharmacy receipt because Gacy was like, "I never talked to this kid." But they find like the receipt from the pharmacy in the house, which is just crazy. But I do believe that was Robert. So again, like this kid played a huge role in how he got caught. So I think it was December 21st, like I said, was like pretty much when the surveillance stopped on Gacy, and when they got the first the first search warrant into Gacy's home, where they found plenty of suspicious items such as like handcuffs, pornography, clothing that didn't belong to him. They found IDs of young men, a lot of which were young men that had been missing. So obviously, huge red flag. But it was not enough for them to arrest him. So surveillance continued, and Gacy became visibly stressed out. He was drinking heavily. Oh my goodness, I can't not talk. He was drinking heavily and talking openly to his friends about it. And December 21st, 1978 is, okay. The 21st was not when they got the first search warrant. The 21st is when they got the second search warrant. I'm sorry. And this is where they find evidence of human remains discovered in the crawl space. And pretty much, I mean, how could he fight it? But he pretty much right away confessed to killing at least 30 people and stated they are all buried under the house, some are in the river. So, the trial. Oh, I'm actually almost done. Like I said, I kind of wish I would have went a little bit more in depth and didn't rush through this, but I think I'm doing not too crazy bad. But the trial, was February to March of 1980, the trial was held in Cook County, Illinois, and for whatever reason, the defense pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. If I remember correctly, they tried to use multiple personality disorder against it, saying that Pogo the clown was one personality, then there was John, or it was John as Pogo, I think, and then regular John, and then there was another name for the third personality, and that third personality was the one that was doing the killing. So that's kind of, I believe that was the case that the defense used. I, again, might be wrong about that. I don't remember where I saw that. I know I definitely heard about it in the podcast, but I did read it somewhere. It didn't fully seem like something, just putting in my notes that it was reason of insanity seemed enough because I knew I would remember that fact. But again, if I'm wrong, let me know. The prosecution showed Gacy was calculating, organized, and very deliberate when it came to these killings, hiring them to work for him, to lure them in, using the business and talking to these young boys hey, you can come work for me, you can do this, you can do that, and then using that to murder these boys. It seems deliberate, it seems calculated, so it's kind of makes sense why they would say that. So yes, the victim count was officially tied to him, 33 murders, so I was correct at the beginning. And then March 13th of 1980, the jury found Gacy guilty of all charges, obviously, and Gacy was sentenced to death. So he was on death row for 14 years, and he was incarcerated at the Menard, I think I'm saying that right, Correctional Center, and occupied his time by giving interviews, painting clowns, Disney characters, and other abstract arts. And then he would sell the paintings to collectors who debated on whether they should buy or destroy them, I guess, but he did sell some. I know that. He did file multiple appeals, which rightfully so were all rejected, just like the person when he was first arrested that was hey, it's more likely than not that he's going to do this again, maybe don't let him out, and then they're let's let him out. Dude, come on. My goodness. Okay, anyways, obviously all appeals were in fact rejected. He maintained that he was innocent for most of the murders, and at times claimed that others killed in his own home and buried the bodies in his house. I think by others, I do believe, like I said earlier, it was different personality, or in this case, it could have totally been that he was like, oh my god, no, someone else came in. Someone else murdered them. Oh, Juno's saying hi. Say hi. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, I think in this case it was kind of like a, oh my goodness, it was someone else. It wasn't me. Guess what? It was him. Haha. I mean, he literally immediately was like, yep, it was me. 33 people. Oh. Oh. She's barking at me now. She doesn't like the microphone. Oh, she's back. Okay. She's back with the cat now, so we're good. But anyway, so it's just like, I don't understand how it's like he's standing in front of the cops who are staring at the dead bodies in his thing, and he's like, that was me. And then he gets in front of a judge, and he's like, that was not me. And then he's like filing for plea deals, and he's like, that was not me. And all these appeals, and he's like, that was not me. And it's like, dude, everyone knows that was you. Everyone knows. Like, stop trying. You look stupid, Pogo. You know? Okay, anyways, on May 10th of 1994, Mr. John Wayne Gacy was executed. Okay, like I said, on May 10th of 1994, John Wayne Gacy was executed by lethal injection at Stateville Correctional Center in Illinois. I guess the IV line was clogged, which prolonged the process, but I have some notes to say. And the only time that I will ever say that John Wayne Gacy had a good idea, and that was his last meal, which sounds amazing, if I do say so myself. And it was fried chicken, fried shrimp, French fries, strawberries, and a Diet Coke. Oh my god. Oh my god. Doesn't that sound so good? Come on. That was actually a question, like a icebreaker question at my job when I was in like initial training. And we all had to like choose like our death row meal. And honestly, this is a really good death row meal. Like, add in some steak, some pasta, maybe some wine. Like, that's a good death row meal. So, again, he's a terrible person. I do not agree with him on anything. He had a good last meal. The only other thing that he did good was, as he was executed, his last words were, "Kiss my ass." And again, how iconic. I want to, like, how long did I say, how long was he in jail again? He spent, like, a while, right? 14 years on death row. He had 14 years to think of something to say. And he chose "kiss my ass," and I think that's very well said. But, again, terrible person. Terrible, 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 terrible person. But yeah, I mean, I hope that if I ever end up on death row, I figure out something funny to say before I die. Hopefully I don't end up on death row. I don't know why I would be, but... Shit, you scared me. Okay, sorry. Justin just got home and he actually scared the shit out of me because I've just been sitting here talking for 45 minutes about a serial killer and I forgot that he was coming home. Anyways, obviously, that was kind of rushed. I feel bad. I remembered most things that I forgot to put in my notes off the top of my head, but I definitely wish I would have went a little bit more into detail, and maybe one day I will do a little kind of like part 2, more in-depth version of this, because, like I said, it's just one of my favorite cases, and I would love to. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you can sleep well tonight after listening to me talk for, like I said, 45 minutes about John Wayne Gacy, aka Mr. Pogo, the killer clown. But I hope you guys have a good night, good day, good whatever. I'll see you next time.